We will start the regular press conference by Minister Kamikawa. The floor is yours. I have one initial comment. At some time around May 2026, the 48th Antarctic Treaty Consultative Meeting will be held in Japan. It will be the first time in 32 years since 1994 to host a meeting in Japan. In terms of the selection of the venue, the government of Japan publicly invited application and as a result of stringent screening, has decided to host the meeting in Hiroshima City of Hiroshima Prefecture. The Antarctic Treaty includes the basic principles of peaceful use of the Antarctic region, international cooperation, and the prohibition of nuclear explosion and the disposal of radioactive materials. And the city of Hiroshima, which claims to be an international peace culture city, I believe, is a suitable site in view of the spirit of the treaty. The Antarctic is an important location to contemplate the future conservation of the global environment to promote international cooperation. And as the original signatory and consultative party to the treaty, Japan has proactively participated in the discussions related to the Antarctic. So far, Japan has advanced the observation and researches to elucidate the global environmental changes, mainly using our Showa base, and have worked on the protection and conservation of biological resources and the environment. In order to make the hosting of the conference in Japan an opportunity to further strengthen international cooperation in the Antarctic and to demonstrate Japan's efforts to resolve the Antarctic-related issues, we will coordinate among the relevant ministries, agencies, and local government authorities and fully prepare for the conference. That is it from myself.
Anyone with questions, please raise your hand, and once you're called, please state your name and affiliation, and please use the microphone closest to you in asking your questions. Katsurada-san, Kyoto. Katsurada, Kyoto, on Middle East situation. The situation is becoming tense between Iran and Israel. Iran has suggested that they has no intention for retaliating again. It seems that the situation is calming down. You have called for de-escalation, talking on the phone by foreign ministers of both countries. What is the role that Japan plans to play? And Israel has an intention to make ground invasion to Rafah in the southern part of Gaza. What is the plan for you to call on Israel? Well, as far as Japan is concerned, given the Middle East situation at the moment, we are gravely concerned about the situation on the ground, and any action leading to escalation on the ground will be condemned strongly by Japan. As far as Japan is concerned, we are urging all parties to prevent expansion of conflicts in the region, and we have been asking for exercise of restraint. At the G7 foreign ministers meeting in Italy the other day, against the backdrop of rising tensions, to prevent escalation and further deterioration of the situation, G7 agreed to work closely to prevent further escalation with regards to the situation in Gaza. During the G7 foreign ministers meeting, we had this discussion on the Gaza situation as far as G7 is concerned. First of all-out military operations G7 against Rafah, G7 is against, and immediate release of hostages and sustainable release of hostages realized and stated that Japan strongly hopes that it would lead to the realization of the sustainable ceasefire, and we've agreed to promote two-state solution. It is very important that humanitarian assistance activities ensured in a sustained manner and release of the hostages realized, and Japan will continue to ask for immediate ceasefire, and we strongly hope that this will lead to realization of sustainable ceasefire. And to Israelis, we have expressed our concern over the situation in Rafah, and we have asked for action for that cause, and we will continue our patient and active diplomatic efforts to that end.
Next question, Igarashi-san, NHK. Igarashi, NHK. This is about UNRWA. the Refugee Work Agency. The review group, led by former French Foreign Minister Colonna, has issued the final report and has evaluated that there are mechanisms to ensure neutrality and procedures. At the same time, Israel asserts that staffs of UNRWA are still members of terrorist organizations, and they say that no evidence has been provided. How do you respond to this as the government? As of 22nd of April, New York time, I am aware that the third-party review group, led by former French Foreign Minister Colonna, has submitted the final report to the UN Secretary General on the reinforcement of the governance of UNRWA and has been released. This report includes what Japan emphasizes, including enhancing the grip over the UNRWA headquarters, to reinforce the grip of UNRWA headquarters to the front line, and the screening, educational training expansion to ensure neutrality of UNRWA staffs, and reinforcement of women's leadership. And the government of Japan positively appreciates the report. Going forward, it is important that UNRWA steadily implements these recommendations, and therefore Japan will continue to coordinate with each of the donors and the donor countries, and will support the reinforcement of the governance of UNRWA. Regarding the neutrality of the staffs, regarding the assertion that a significant number of UNRWA staffs are members of terrorist organizations, according to this report, so far no underlying evidence has been provided by Israel. At any rate, Japan will work through all the efforts included in the final report, and through the Japan UNRWA monitoring mechanism that Japan and UNRWA has established, we will ensure the appropriateness of the project, and we will share such experiences with the donors.
Next question. Mr. Azhari, Pan Orient News.
Thank you. Azhari, Pan Orient News. In light of Japan's vote in favor of Palestinians receiving full UN membership at the Security Council, and statements by Japan's Chief Cabinet Secretary advocating the establishment of a Palestinian state, Israel reportedly said it has summoned the Japanese ambassador in protest, along with some ambassadors of other countries, on the basis that this runs against Israel plans, especially plans of evacuating Gaza and, from Palestinians. So, do you condemn Israel for that action, and do you plan to recognize Palestine as a state? Thank you.
Well, with regards to the UNSC draft resolution, Japan voted for the UNSC draft resolution under the recognition that Palestine satisfied requirements for UN accession. Japan made a comprehensive judgment in doing so, including the perspective of promoting establishment of a state through peace negotiations towards realization of Middle East peace. Japan voting for the UN Security Council and Japan's recognition of Palestine as a state are two different issues, and there is no change to the Japanese position. Having said that, on the 21st, upon request by the Israeli foreign minister, members of diplomatic corps, including Japan, had a meeting with the government officials of Israel. During this meeting, Israeli government officials explained Israel's position on the said UN draft resolution, and Japan explained the position of the Japanese government. As far as Japan is concerned, we continue to support two-state solution through the negotiations amongst the parties. Japan will effectively utilize the unique position that Japan has built over the years in the Middle East to make a contribution to the progress of peace process.
Next question, Anatole, Mr. Miljan. Miljan Anatolia. Israel's attack over Gaza are about to enter the 200th day Despite the call for ceasefire by the global community, Israel is continuing air raids. Regarding Israel's massacre continuing in Gaza, will you tell me the latest position of the government of Japan? Israel is making assertion without evidence and foundation. Will the government of Japan again stop the support for UNRWA? As I mentioned just earlier, the position of Japan is we want to ensure a sustainable environment where humanitarian aid will be enabled, and in order to release the hostages, we are calling for immediate cessation of hostility, and we strongly hope that it will lead to sustainable ceasefire. Based on this recognition, we are calling on the relevant parties to take actions from humanitarian perspective. Even now, the release of the hostages and the cessation of hostilities, the intermediation of relevant countries are continuing, and Japan will closely coordinate with the country so that such actions will be promoted, and we are trying to create an enabling environment. We will continue our proactive and tenacious diplomatic effort. Regarding our aid to UNRWA, you asked that question. We have the Japanese project of monitoring, and we will ensure appropriate support to children and the women, and we are carefully monitoring the situation, and therefore regarding these efforts, in terms of humanitarian support, we will continue careful support.
Next question, Sankei Harakawa. I'm Harakawa Sankei. Thank you very much for having me. Former member of the House of Representatives back in 2020 or thereabout, human rights issues in Hong Kong and in China, what she used to do in the criminal trial. She is named as the accomplice of the accused. The speech of Japanese members of the Diet, subject of a trial outside, could be a violation of sovereignty of Japan, and some argue that Japan should issue a protest on the 6th of March at the Upper House Budget Committee, including whether that constitutes a violation of Japanese sovereignty. You said that you have to closely monitor the situation and how the situation would develop. So having said that, have you came to a conclusion whether it constitutes a violation of the Japanese sovereignty? So what is the assessment by the Japanese government at this moment? What is the recognition of the government of Japan at this present moment? Thank you. Well, on that particular case, Japan is deeply concerned that a series of developments, including imprisonment of Jimmy Lai, could have impact on freedom of speech and association in Hong Kong. Having said that, with regards to the trial, a former member of the House, Shiori Kanno, has been named during the trial. At the moment, the trial is still pending. Therefore, we will continue to closely watch how the trial would develop, and there is a need to ascertain specific circumstances, including whether that would constitute a violation of Japan's sovereignty.
Next question, Moriguchi-san, Mainichi Shimbun. Moriguchi, Mainichi Shimbun. Question about Ukraine. You attended the G7 Foreign Ministers meeting held in Italy. According to the communique, there will be an Ukraine high-level peace conference in Switzerland in June, and the Ukrainian peace formula that there will be an effort to ensure extensive support. Regarding this high-level meeting planned in June, is Japan going to participate? Report says that Russia will not attend. In order to realize peace in Ukraine, how will Japan contribute to the international debate? Thank you. As of April 10th, I am aware that the Swiss government announced that the high-level conference on Ukrainian peace will be held in Bergenstock in Switzerland in June. I recognize that this is an important meeting in order to realize a just and lasting peace in Ukraine. Regarding the participant, it has not been decided. However, by close cooperation with countries including Switzerland and Ukraine, we will take responsible action. About the participating countries, I am aware that it is still under coordination. About the expectation of participation of other countries, I will refrain from commenting. But as the aggression is continuing for a long time, the responsibility of Japan is to continue a diplomatic effort so that the international community can remain united and stay with Ukraine. In this regard, when I attended the G7 foreign ministers meeting of G7 in Capri, Italy, I have emphasized Japan's unwavering position that we stand side by side with Ukraine. As the G7, we once again agreed that we will continue our effort to realize a just and lasting peace in Ukraine. In order to realize a just and lasting peace in Ukraine, we will continue our cooperation with G7 as well as other countries that are called Global South, and we will exert our leadership.
Next question, please. Matsuyama-san, Asahi Shimbun. Matsuyama, Asahi Shimbun. On PM, members of the Parliament, diplomacy. Deputy Vice President of LDP, Minister Aso, is in the United States. On the 23rd, he may have a meeting with Trump. As the state guest, Prime Minister Kishida went to the United States to reaffirm the global partnership between Japan and the United States. What is the significance of Mr. Aso meeting with Trump? And if the meeting between Aso and Trump is realized, what implications this could have between our bilateral relations? Well, the Deputy President Aso of the LDP is visiting the United States, but he is visiting the United States in his capacity as a member of the Parliament. The government of Japan has not been involved in his trip. He is visiting the United States as an activity, as an individual, in a capacity as an individual. So please allow me to refrain from commenting on his visit, and I'm not in a position to assess what the implications.
Next question. Miss Moriguchi, Mainichi Shimbun newspaper. Moriguchi, Mainichi Shimbun. This is about a Chinese professor of Asia University. After returning to China in February last year, he is unaccounted for. Does the government know the fact about the circumstances? And there are a series of similar cases of a Chinese professor going missing. What is your position? Regarding such media reports, I am aware of them. That professor has been teaching as a professor at a university in Japan for many years, and this is related to the human rights of this professor. And therefore, in view of similar past cases, we are paying attention on this matter, but because of the nature of the situation, I will refrain from further comments.
Anybody else? If not, then we would like to conclude the press conference. Thank you very much, everyone.